sequence start. 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
50 years ago, the world watched as astronauts made the perilous journey to become the first humans to land on the moon. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface and uttered those immortal words.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
And that
they started up behind time on this and they're caught up.
Yes, this is the flag, not the core sample. Mike Collins says he doesn't mind a bit not having television right now. There it is, a U.S. flag on the surface of the moon. Flag is on a frame. There is no wind to hold it out like that, of course. It's a 3x5 flag, and it's got a frame of its own to hold it out. Nothing more for really leading you, but it was seen as an official reason.
Blithely he moves back.
I think they're taking pictures of each other with a Hasselblad camera.
Yep.
Exactly what they're doing. The first tourists on the moon.
Even as Conrad and Bean lifted off from the moon, there was still more science to do.
50 years ago, the world watched as astronauts made the perilous journey to become the first humans to land on the moon. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface and uttered those immortal words.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In that amazing 3-year span, 12 astronauts walked on the moon. The last moonwalk of the Apollo program was on December 13th, 1972. The footprints of the astronauts have remained undisturbed since then. Hello, I'm John Hubbard. My first job was working on the design of the Saturn V. Now we're in the midst of the 50th anniversary of the Apollo lunar landings, and I wanted to create something commemorative, yet unique and up to date with current technology. I collect fountain pens, That led me to design the Moonwalk pen using computer modeling and high-precision 3D printing. Bringing the design concept to life required a team of talented young folks who applied their skills with digital design tools. As we learned in Apollo, technology can't solve everything. The human element is required. Likewise, artists have hand-painted the textured surfaces of the Moonwalk pen as the finishing touch. The Moonwalk pen features the famous photo of the Apollo footprint, perhaps Neil Armstrong's, that has been seen millions of times. It is solidly imprinted into the barrel of the pen, which is textured to recall the dusty, gravelly lunar surface. The cap of the pen carries out the theme with an array of lunar craters, and text on the backside of the barrel reads, "We came in peace for all mankind," words that still appear on the Apollo 11 landing stage. The Moonwalk pen is available both as a fountain pen with a smooth writing Jowo nib or as a rollerball.
This video has been sponsored by John Hubbard Jr. The name of the pen is the Moonwalk pen. And before we go into the details about what's in this pen case, the website you can go to is www.moonwalkpen.com. The M is capital and the P is capital. Now, let's proceed on our adventure to the moon. When you order a pen, it will come just as you see this here. It's not just a pen. It's a pen that made history many, many, many decades ago. So let's talk about the pen. This, my friends, is what it comes in. It's a plastic pen case. Let's open it up and show you what's inside. Are you ready? Here we go. On the inside of the lid, you feel kind of a velour type or a soft cushion type lining to help protect the pen on its journey to your home. If you decide this pen is worthy for you to own, which I'm sure once you see this pen and hear about this pen, you will agree that if you're a collector, a pen enthusiast, that this pen's an absolute must. No questions asked. Done. Now, let's go into the pen. And here is the Moonwalk pen. And we'll take it out. And I am going to set it on a little cool cushion here. Let's see. I think I'll set it right here. And we'll set these aside. This is how your pen will come, just as you see it. And we'll take the little ribbon off. And then we're going to unwrap and talk about this in a minute. This pen, the eighth wonder of the world. Now, Mr. Announcer, let's get really close as we can pictures of this pen. Imagine you're landing at the moon, on the moon. Imagine you're looking at the moon, the craters. What do you think of that, Mr. Announcer? Your honest feedback.
Oh, I like the representation, the three-dimensional aspect of it.
And just the feel like the surface of the moon. And then, as we go down the barrel, we're going to see more of this texture the pen has. And this is what, Mr. Announcer?
It is the boot print left, the first boot print on the moon left by Alan Armstrong.
And that's very nicely done. All this pen put together has really been well and thoroughly planned and made. Talking about having a lot of planning, taking notes, put that thinking cap on, what's going to work, what's not going to work, how is it going to work. It had to be a pen that's going to represent what took place back in
1969.
It had to be just what that was then. Just what it was. It can't be nothing made up. It can't be something just thrown in there. It had to be exact. So there's that footprint, whatever you want. There's the print right there. Now that's pretty cool. And as we turn the pen over, Mr. Announcer, would you do the honors and read what it says?
We came in peace for all mankind.
Now, isn't that something? Stunning. The words alone are historic. This pen does not come with a clip. There's a reason for that. Don't want to take away what's on this pen with a clip, and anyway, it won't roll off your desk. It's stopped right there by, I call it one of the craters. Has like a stop right there, bam. So, the cap is a pull-off cap. And let's look inside the cap. Let me see what's inside there. Nothing. Let's see if we can get a little light in there. Can you see how the pen kind of glows in there? You can see that. Maybe it's better like that. No, we'll just keep it like that. Now that's pretty cool right there. Okay. So, and then as we go down the barrel, here's a little O-ring there that I'll explain that later. And we go down to the grip section. It's not a big grip section. You have a small grip section. There's really no step off here. Just the little ring that's made into the grip section right in here. So when you go down the pen and you place your fingers, I have small fingers, mine are perfect. But even if you have large fingers, you can hold the pen here if you like. Comfortable all day long. Beautiful, isn't it? Stunning. So, we'll close it back up. Now we'll see what the certificate says. Mr. Announcer, would you do the honors? Is that a good enough? Do you see it right there?
Okay, Moonwalk pen, artist proof. This is to certify that the Moonwalk pen number, and actually that's blank,
Yeah, they're all blank for right now, and I'll fill that in later.
signed by the artist this day, for the date, is an authentic member of the artist's proof edition of this pen.
So you will get a letter of authenticity of this pen. And, of course, no other than Ray Hubbard Jr. will sign it. And then he will put the number and the day, all the necessary information. Now, it also, Mr. Announcer, read the very bottom part of the address.
John T. Hubbard Jr., 717 Watts Drive, Southeast, Huntsville, Alabama, 35801, USA.
All righty.
And if I remember correctly, I think Huntsville is where Space Camp is.
Really? Cool. All right. I didn't know that. So, when you receive the pen, it's a limited edition number X of 50. In the black box, as you saw here that it came in, that this note, as you saw here, accompanies, you will find the pen and the corresponding certificate of authenticity, which we talked about earlier, and it will be filled in by John. The pen, in which I'll show you again in a minute, is fitted with a number 6 HB steel black broad nib, which I requested from Franklin Christoph. The nib is a JOWO nib, which allows you to fit the pen with any other JOWO nibs should you want to do so. I know some people are into extra fine, medium, broad, etc., etc., etc. Inside the pen, which I'll show you in a minute, you will find a converter. Yes, comes with a converter, a Schmidt ink converter, chosen because it has a reputation of bringing the best of its kind. The JOWO nib in a Schmidt converter promises a pleasant writing experience, which I will do. Now, attached in a small Ziploc bag containing a few spare parts, the pen, the O-ring, as we saw right here. Okay. Just in case you lose one on the pen, you got backup. And it comes with two 14mm black washers used to adjust the orientation of the nib. Now, John says he preferred that the top of the nib and the design of the barrel line up, but it's random. When things are screwed together. So, he said, I use a black washer to adjust the orientation of that. Okay, that's John thinking of, did he leave anything out, all the details, did I get everything right, is everything coming together, does it fit all together, is it coming together the way I want it to come together up in here, what I'm visualizing on screen, on paper, because now the real deal is happening So, he stands behind this product 100%. So, in a minute, I will take the pen apart and show you how the pen comes apart, what comes apart. And remember that the cap is removed by pulling straight off. Bam. Okay? And replaced by putting it straight on.
The pen comes in a three-dimensional design with artifacts of the Moonwalk being imprinted on it. The pen itself is actually printed by a 3D printer. John Hubbard has someone who knows about this very well and helps him produce it. It takes about 6 hours to print the barrel and the cap using liquid acrylic resin hardened by a laser.
Interesting, isn't it? Wow. That's pretty cool. All right. All right, and as always, and this happens to all pen makers, I'm sure, when they're making a pen, something that is totally different than your basic, regular, standard pens, it's always some trial and error involved in it. Does this work? Maybe so, maybe not. Nah, not too good. Well, let's try it this way. Kind of, but still not feeling it until finally John gets to where he felt and hear that this was it. This is his creation. So it took a little bit of time. Let's give dimensions on this pen. The length of the pen capped is 145 millimeters or 5.75 inches. The barrel diameter is going to be 13.8 millimeters or 0.54 inches. Now the grip diameter is going to be 13.1 millimeters or 0.46 inches. This is not a heavy pen at all. It's a light pen. The weight of the pen capped is going to come in at 20 G's or 0.7 ounces. Weight of the pen uncapped, 12 G's or 0.4 ounces. Now, let's go ahead and go into the pen. As we go down the pen, barrel, to the grip. Okay, with your number 6, Franklin Christoph Joe O nib, and right down here, B for broad nib. Let's go ahead and unscrew the barrel. And here is the Schmidt converter. Pull out and push in. Very simple. Okay. Now, here's one of your rings that will come off. If you lose one, you got a spare one. And the nib. There's the feed. And if you want to get another nib to change out the whole housing, it just unscrews. Very simple. Very easy. Boom. So from there, if you want to change the nib out to a different nib without the housing, you can just fix and fit it as always, and just pull that nib straight out. The whole unit, you just pull out the nib and the feed and bam, and put yourself another one on, or just get another replacement that comes with the whole section unit and you're good to go. Pretty simple, isn't it? I love pens like this. Nice. So, I'll be back with some ink. Okay, next I'm going to be filling it with ink, and that's going to be some Birmingham Slag Gray. Okay? And for those who are wondering, the whole name of it's going to be the Homestead Steelworks Slag Gray, right here, from Birmingham Ink. Really some great ink, in my opinion. So let's see how this moon pen is going to write. We know that the landing was successful on the moon, so now we're going to go a step further to see how the pen handles the ink and how it writes. And if a malfunction happens, it's not my fault. It's Mr. Announcer's fault. Isn't that right, Mr. Announcer?
Sure, why not?
Yes, I know it.
Unfortunately, also, we cannot simulate anti-gravity situations, so we can't see if the pen writes upside down.
That's right. I'm sure you probably get a question. Well, that other pen does. Well, we're not talking about that ballpoint pen. We're talking about the fountain pen. Okay, okay. So, and there's no shikalaws in this. Nope, straight ink. So there we go. All right, now comes one of the most important parts about a pen. Like I said, a pen can look amazing, beautiful, the best looking pen in the world. But if the heart of the pen, which is the nib, is not there, meaning if you don't have a good writing experience because of the nib, then you're going to have a big letdown with your pen. At least that's how I feel about it. But who am I? And this is really some excellent ink. In my opinion, I think it's going to complement this pen. And the pen does post properly. Nice. It's got a nice balance to it. Feels good in the hand. I have small hands, so it still feels fine in the hand, and I can write all day long like this. If you have large hands, you still can write up higher if needed, and you'll be fine. But I would say you might want to check out and put the cap on and try it first if you have large hands, because it might accommodate you better. And here we go. With the number 6, Franklin Christoph broad nib. And the ink I'm using today, no other than one of my all-time favorites, Wonderful nib. Got to give it that. Let's do a little wet test. I can tell you now, it's juicy. Bam. All right. Win-win. Beautiful fountain pen. Historical fountain pen. Very nicely done. Great engineering went into this pen. The nib is also nice, smooth, and wet. So it's a win-win right there. Now a little bit of writing. A few little swirls here, no problem. Reverse writing. And it does very nicely on the reverse writing. Fast writing. Using the Rhodia paper pad. Smooth. No hard starts. No skips. Very nice. Downstrokes, cross strokes. And I'm not going to see about any kind of flexibility because this nib is not a flex nib or not made to even flex. So I'm just going to leave that alone because my luck, I would spring the time. Bang! Don't want to do that. So, I believe I've covered everything that's needed to cover on this pen. If we can get a close-up of the words. I've covered the cap, the barrel, the grip, the nib, unit, the converter, and the little backup rings, and the certificate, and the pen case that it comes in. Everything has been covered. Now, I don't know about any other reviewer, but for me, Mr. Announcer and I together did this, and we've been working on this for almost a week, somewhere in that area, because once the video's done and I like what's in it, then we take it from there. Then I wake up next morning, nah, forget it, let's redo it. So I must have redid this 3 or 4 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? But anyway, here it is, the final product. What, would you like to fill this pen and tell me your thoughts about this pen, Mr. Announcer? Your honest thoughts. Do you really like that? And I'll give you a price on that pen in a minute.
I do very much like the texture of it. Let's see what size it does when it's posted. Okay, yeah, that's a good balance. The pen feels very, very light for its size. I would think it would be heavier than what it is, although actually now that I feel it, I think I would write with it non-posted. That, to me, that adds just a little too much weight on the back.
Now to finish it up, the fountain pen, you can go to the website that I gave you earlier, or just go to the website you see right down below, and that's going to pull it up. And I believe you can get this, the fountain pen, or I think John said a rollerball, if I'm remembering correctly. So, Mr. Announcer is going to go over some prices and some important information. Are you ready, Mr. Announcer?
The Artist's Proof Edition, there will be 12 pens manufactured, each one numbered and signed by John Hubbard. This is $340, which includes mailing in the USA. The limited edition will consist of 50 pens, each numbered, for $270 with mailing in the USA. You can also find this information on moonwalkpen.com.
There you go. There you have it. So, you know, this pen, in my opinion, should be in the Pen World magazine. Who knows? And it may still come out there one day. I really think this is really an awesome fountain pen. We came in peace for all mankind. It just kind of sticks with you. So on the serious side, folks, are you truly a pen collector? Then this pen would be a must. If you're a fountain pen user, a must. If you don't use fountain pens at all, still a must. It's a beautiful piece of work. Now, I will be having John Hubbard Jr. on Larry's Fountain Pens Zoom Pen Hangout as my special guest this coming Saturday, May the 13th at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. You will be able to meet and speak with John, get to know John. You can ask him questions. So when you come on, what's going to happen, so I want heads up, that I will be talking with John first, and then after I get through speaking with John, then we will open the floor so everybody can talk to John. So most likely what's going to happen is your mics will be muted until I get through visiting with John. Of course, y'all are seeing this. And then when I'm done, then our room manager, Mr. Frank
Overman.
Thank you. Well, open her up, and then you can go with it. So, okay, don't forget, check me out. This coming Saturday, the 22nd, 6:30 p. Central Time on my Zoom Pen Hangout. It's going to be a blast. Peace and lots of love.